If you walked out of the theaters trying to convince yourself that the sixth installment in the Insidious franchise somehow honored the James Wan playbook, then I need you to take a seat, take a breath, and then I need you to go ahead and admit that we just witnessed a absolute cash grab. It is not often that I am ready for a movie to be over, but I felt like I was suffering through this one. And I was genuinely happy when the credits started rolling, even though there is a mid-credit scene that I stayed around for. But before we go any further, you have about 3 seconds to go ahead and get out of here if you haven't seen the movie yet. Because I'm going to talk about the plot holes, every jump scare scene, at least the ones that actually made you jump, and that catastrophic third act. So 1, 2, 3, go ahead and get out of here. And let's go ahead and dive into this. If you think this was genuinely some type of return to form, then you are suffering from that same astral delusion that the protagonist in this film is as well. Because this film does not just drop the ball. It kicks it straight into some type of purgatory, and it expects us to applaud what's just another echo in this franchise. The movie wants you to think it's delivering some elevated mediation on trauma, shifting the horror franchise this time onto a whole new family by introducing Gemma, who's played by Amelia Eve, as a young single mother who is living in her childhood home. Now, the premise itself is basically a repeat of what Gemma went through as a child with her deceased mother. But now she is going through this with her own young daughter, Maya. Now, it could have worked, but the script immediately suffocates under its own very, very slow pacing. For the first 30 minutes or so, we meet Gemma, we meet Maya, we meet Gemma's boyfriend, Nick, and in my opinion, just mine, absolutely nothing important happens. We get 1 or 2 jump scares and we get a nightmare. But the essential why, why is this happening? Why should we care about these characters? All of that was missing. It does get you warmed up with some early tension and some of the creepy factors, but in that first half hour, it gets very lukewarm to cold quickly. It wants the emotional weight of a grief drama, but instead it just throws random events at the wall with zero identity. Then the moment that this film steps into the further, all semblance of what you would call terror completely evaporates. Yes, they did try some different things. I will applaud the creativity, but it severely lacked on what we go to horror movies for: the kills, the thrills, and the creepy fact. And speaking of things that lack logic, let's take a hard pause for the single dumbest character decision that I think I've witnessed on screen all year. And I think I keep saying that a lot lately, but as we get further into this year, I'm starting to see more and more just terrible character choices. So Gemma is fully panicking about her childhood repeating herself, and what does she do in this moment? She decides to go find some psychic lady that she met in a dream. But get this, she leaves her daughter with her boyfriend, Nick, who wants to meet her daughter and, maybe start building this family together. But the daughter has never met Nick. And this is the person that you decide to leave your child with. Not that it's a terrible decision. I'm sure he's not going to do anything bad. But the point is, why would you leave your child with somebody that she's never met? It just doesn't make any sense. And then not the fact that you just left her alone with somebody she doesn't know. All of this is happening in what seems to be the beginning phases for you of a demonic possession. So double wow. And then on top of all of that, you're going to meet a total stranger. And the only way you could talk to this total stranger is through another total stranger who just happens to be a clairvoyant. I just feel like when your protagonist treats basic parenting like an afterthought during a demonic siege, any hope of maintaining tension is completely dead in the water. Now, beyond those laughable parenting choices, the script completely demolishes the established lore just to give Gemma some unearned superpowers. We learn that Gemma isn't your standard astral traveler. No. She's a courier. Now, this rare psychic gift allows a person to physically transport material objects and malicious spirits back and forth between the real world and the further. Then we get the classic lazy exposition dump where the ghost of the franchise, Elise Rainier, played by the one and only Lynn Shay, returns to act as a spiritual guide. Elise, who died back in 2011, I believe it was, communicates through a clairvoyant tattoo artist named Claire. Now, all of this is done just to force feed us flashbacks from previous movies, and it's also to warn Gemma of Cyrus's grand scheme. Now, Cyrus Lamb, who's played by Sam Spruill, is a blind, terrifying further inhabitant, and he's also a cult leader. And I believe it was called the Crimson Room, but this is apparently where Cyrus operates out of. And what he does there is he harvests the residual life force of lost souls in order to maintain his physical looking form. When it gets worse, Cyrus actually has acolytes, and their entire purpose is to drug Gemma in the real world and wear her down and weaken her. And they're doing all this to exploit her power. That way, when she's weak enough, they can permanently break the barrier between the realms. And all that would do is grant a bunch of spirits eternal rebirth. Now, by turning it further into this malleable playground with arbitrary physical rules, the film basically strips away every single ounce of mystique that was established in previous films. And then the final act collapses into predictable nonsense. The big underwhelming twist is that Cyrus escalates the plan by kidnapping Gemma's daughter Maya. And he does this basically just to force Gemma into compliance. But that grand reveal of the demon going for the daughter instead of the mom, it did not shock me at all. It actually kind of left me with this big massive, oh, okay. Because for me, it did nothing to further or deepen the story in any fashion. We find out that Gemma's mother was also a courier and she locked Cyrus away earlier. That's when she was bashing her head at the beginning of the film against the shower wall. She wasn't being thrown into the wall like we thought that she was. She actually was throwing herself into the wall because she was trapping Cyrus in her mind. And we see during the final showdown that Elise possesses a body and is all to help Maya escape. I forgot to mention that the franchise's iconic lipstick-faced demon makes a brief appearance, actively fighting Cyrus's cultists in order to protect his own territory in the further. But now Gemma, left alone with Cyrus and a massive horde of invading entities, Gemma finally utilizes her courier powers in a good way, and she uses them in reverse. She locks the demons inside her old childhood home with her inside with them, and she transports the entire physical house into the further. Now, this was alluded to a few times. This was not a shock either that she was going to do this. It was almost literally laid out on a silver platter that she was going to do this when Elise told us earlier that, oh, you can move many things or almost anything. So we knew she was going to move something. And then once we got to this moment, it was just no shock factor there either. But after she does all that, she snaps back into her physical body. She wakes up in the real world and it leaves Cyrus trapped in the further where a raging mob of spirits basically turn on him. And the reason they did this is because that he failed to deliver them the freedom that they felt like they deserved, or he just failed to deliver them the freedom that he promised them. Now, the final shot does reveal a little piece of the furthest black residue remaining stained on Maya's bedroom slipper in the real world. And if it wasn't enough, the mid-credit scene shows Cyrus still trapped in the further, but explicitly plotting for some future return that I'm sure we may get if this movie makes enough money. It is, in my opinion, an entirely unearned setup for a sequel that I don't know who is asking for it. Are you guys asking for it? Let me know in the comments if you're asking for another sequel in this franchise. At the end of the day, this movie trades genuine psychological dread for an extremely predictable and derivative plot that simply just goes through the motions. I am sad to say that I am giving Insidious Out of the Further a 1.5 out of 5. That is the best I could do. I did not like this movie. It wastes a competent lead performance on an incoherent script. This script is what should have stayed locked behind the red door permanently. Now I want to throw this over to you. If you guys like this film, let me know down in the comments. I'm sorry that I didn't care for it myself, but if you guys liked it, please tell me what you liked about it. I personally thought this movie was aggressively lazy. And if there is a more aggressively lazier movie than this, you guys let me know down in the comments what you think it is. But drop your thoughts, drop your ratings down in the comments, and let me know what you guys thought about this film if you saw it, or when you see it, or if you don't plan on seeing it, or if you're going to see it on streaming at some point. But let me know what you think about it. So I appreciate you all for coming. Please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button on your way out. It really helps the channel, and I do really appreciate you all for coming. Please don't forget to follow me across all socials if you get a chance to do that as well. And thank you again. I guess stay out of the further. And I will see you in the next one.